You very rarely get the chance to show yourself what you're made of. Apparently I am madness personified, so we got a lot to work through. I get to get an answer to like my burning question.
I'm dreaming, oh, I believe in this dream I've been dreaming, oh, I'm dreaming, oh, I believe in this dream I've been dreaming, oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tess Crawley, who is here to help me build my channel to 10 million subscribers and help me get out of my own way and dive into my psych issues. Apparently I am madness personified, so we got a lot to work through.
Madness personified. Yeah. There's a fair bit going on.
Have you ever told one of your clients that they are madness personified?
Not in seriousness, no.
So where do we go? What are we doing?
Well, hey, Mr. Nick Brace, how are you first and foremost? I can't ignore that. How are you feeling? How are your pain levels? I mean, how's it all going?
It's been an interesting experience. This happened, I forget how many weeks ago. Anyway, I'm on the road to recovery. I broke my neck in Denver and still finished my tour. And we can talk about that.
Hence the madness personified, okay? Madness, so that's where that fits in. I
think we should dive into it because I see it in a really weird, dark way that maybe it's healthy or maybe it's just crazy. I don't know. Maybe I am madness personified. We just got back to Toronto last week. I don't even remember. And so I have a follow-up appointment in a week and a half or so. See how I'm doing, see if it can come off or not. But until then, I basically have to stay with this on 24/7, except for my 10-minute shower a day. So, but I'd rather have it on. Like in my shower, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not moving.
Yeah. It must feel really unsafe. It must feel really like unnatural now. You've had it on for so long. Well, it's been nearly a month, right? Has it been about a month?
It's been just over a month. Yeah. And it feels, I can't move my neck, right? I have to move my whole body. If I need to look at something, I have to move my whole body around instead of my neck. But breaking your neck is a serious deal. So I'm glad I'm still here.
Yeah, it's rather serious. I'm glad you're taking that seriously. So now let me get this straight. So you fainted, you hit your head.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, because I remember you had you had something on your forehead. You'd hit your forehead. So you landed backwards, you bounced backwards and against a chair or something. Is that what happened? How did you actually break your neck?
So I mean, I was unconscious, so I don't know exactly, but what Nina says is I passed out. I fell out of my chair and then I hit my head on the drywall. And so if you look at some of my older videos, I've got like this huge red thing on the forehead here. That's not that serious. But then I slid down and hit the baseboard. So I hit my head on the wall and then slid down and cut the back of my head open on the baseboard. And it was a serious cut. I had to have 3 staples in the back of my head. And then I had a concussion, which sucks. Concussions are the worst. And then I broke my neck and compressed my spine in the upper back. And then I don't know, I woke up on the floor, not quite sure where I was. My wife freaking out, crying, blood all over her hands. Took me a couple of minutes, not minutes, but a little bit to realize, oh yeah, this is where I thought I was just waking up in the morning or something. Just waking up in the morning.
Just waking up with my wife screaming and hands covered in blood. Has she stabbed me? What's going on here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm assuming, if it was me, I would have been in that moment absolutely terrified, realizing something really serious has happened and I actually don't know what's happened and I don't know how serious it is.
So this is what I want to dive in with you, because you gave me assignment. You gave me assignment last time of like when I should be feeling something, but I'm not. Trying to catch those moments. So this is like, boom, I was trying to find something and then the moment came. Yes. So I'm on the floor, right? And they call the paramedics. So ambulance and fire people come and they don't move me, right? Like, cause there's blood, they don't know what's happening. Yeah. So like say, okay, wait for the paramedics to come. Paramedics come, they lift me up. It's like 7 people in the room and they sit me in this chair. And they help me get up. At that time, they don't know what's they didn't think to stabilize my neck or anything, right? Just kind of sitting up normally.
Oh my gosh.
So how do you feel? Like, I don't know. I feel okay. I don't know. Nothing wrong. I don't know. And then I said, oh, I'm starting to get a little bit dizzy, a little bit of a headache. And now I'm sitting up in the chair, and my left hand is starting to go numb. My left hand's starting to go numb.
Oh.
Guys, I can't feel my left hand right now. It's totally dead. I can't feel it. Oh, you know what? It's spreading up to my arm, my whole arm. Like I can't feel my left arm anymore, guys. Oh, you know what, guys? It's going to my right hand now. Like my right hand's going numb. I can't feel my right hand. Now it's going to my arm. I can't feel it in my arms. And I'm just explaining what's happening. They think I'm having a heart attack. So they're asking, do you have any history of heart attacks in your family? I'm like, no, not that I know of. And so here I am sitting with like a huge headache. I'm concussed, but I don't know it. And like both my arms are I can't feel it. I can't feel my hands.
Yeah.
I'm calmly just like walking through what's going on, right? And in my head, this is where like it's maybe not even healthy, but I'm like, I gotta ask Tessa about this. In my head, I'm thinking, I'm the greatest patient of all time. This is what I'm telling myself. Like most people would be freaking out. Like I can't feel my hand, both arms. Am I paralyzed? I can't feel anything, right? I'm just calmly explaining what's going on. And I'm telling myself, man, I'm doing so well right now. This is amazing. This is a story inside my own head. And
yep.
So I don't know. That may be unhealthy. I don't know. Or it's the most healthy thing of all time. I don't know. But
well, I mean, from a psychological perspective, you were in survival mode at that stage, so you were a bit distanced, and that's actually pretty normal. But for you, it's very normal for the "I'm awesome" thing to sneak in right at that moment.
It's literally the first thing. Like I feel like I should be freaking out more than this. Like I can't feel my hand. Like I can't move my fingers. It's totally numb. And then I'm proud of myself. This is the next, like the instant thing that comes up next is I am amazing, right? I don't say it out loud, but it's what I'm telling myself in my head.
Good thing you didn't say it out loud. It might have been a completely different admission if you different department of the hospital for you, mister. So when did you get scared? At what point did you get scared? Because I'm guessing there was a moment where you started going, oh, this is serious. Now I'm worried.
I don't know that I really got scared. And I should. You break your neck, like it's a big deal, right? Concussion was great. I don't know if you've ever had a concussion. I've never had one before this. And it was brutal because they said you can't sleep all day and you can't think or have conversations. Like the sleeping all day is fine. I never sleep all day. That's easy. But not thinking or having conversations and no screen time was really tough. So being in a mental fog for me who enjoys like this kind of stuff was really difficult. So maybe here's something. It only happened twice where I was on a call with somebody, a friend checking in or a podcast or something. And they said, I thought when you break your neck, you die. Oh, I don't know.
Well,
like the doctors kept saying I might need to have spinal surgery, right? Like when we left the hospital, he said, because I'm young at 38 and because I don't smoke, there's a 50 to 75% chance that I would need spinal surgery, but you have to see how it heals and who knows, he's making a one-off assessment. Now you got to follow up. And I wouldn't know until I got back to Toronto how well it's healing or not, which is still like weeks away. But in my head, I'm already thinking, I'm not having spinal surgery. The fear was zero. I'm going to beat this just by default. Yeah. Yeah. But then when the two conversations came up separately, is that I thought you break your neck like means you're dead. That's when I got a little bit of a panic, like, oh, maybe I should be taking this more seriously. But then almost instantly, like 8 seconds later, he's like, no, I'm fine.
No, I'm awesome.
Not that. It was just more like, no, I'll be fine. But maybe it's an unwillingness to go there to the conversation last month. I don't want to deal with it. Maybe. Yeah. Yep. So everything I've been consuming is only the positive stuff of people who heal themselves with their minds and like, and people who laughed their way through the guy who laughed his way through cancer and people and like being optimistic. So I'm sitting there like dancing in my hospital bed and putting on music and laughing and doing jokes and just trying to have fun, fully believing that I'm just going to get better and I won't need, because spinal surgery, it's crazy. It's you don't want to have spinal surgery. That's a big deal.
It's a big thing.
I never felt it, almost never, like just those 2 times. But to myself, I never felt it. No, like, oh my gosh, what if I don't make it through?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. What about Nina's reaction? How's she been?
Oh my God, Nina was freaking out. I mean, she was freaking out when it happened. I mean, she saw me fall out of my chair and then like what happened to me, and the doctor's talking about heart attack and like not being sure what was going on. I didn't have a heart attack. I had a I don't remember what it's called, vagus nerve something. Basically, my heart stopped putting blood to my brain, and then I passed out. Which that apparently is in my family, which I didn't really know about.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Vagus nerve, vagus something.
Yeah, vagus nerve. Yeah.
But here's the thing: when the doctors were telling me about it, like, oh, I don't want to know. Don't talk. I don't want to know. Because
isn't that why you fainted?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I get queasy around that stuff, but I've never passed out. But the fact that they're talking to me, I'm starting to feel queasy again. Oh, I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
Yeah. Stop with that. Yeah, that's what started this whole shit.
The doctor was trying to tell me what was happening with my neck. I'm like, oh, I don't want to know. Medical stuff freaks me out. So he said basically the neck is, imagine your neck as a stool of 3 legs. You broke one leg, the other one is kind of injured, and the third one is fine. So that's why your head's not falling off. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
got it.
Good. I'm good now.
That's enough.
What about pain levels? Pain levels. I mean, pain is often the thing that then gets you, because the physical recovery is something you've got to do, but the pain is something that for some people, it's obviously, it varies from person to person, the degree of pain and the coping capacity with pain. What's it been like?
So again, this is where like I'm pumped.
Of course.
I got off the pain meds as soon as I could in the hospital. They started pumping me full of everything. Like I'm taking all sorts of stuff. They just pop stuff in the IV constantly. And then overnight, I mean, I didn't even question it, but then in the morning they said, okay, time for your like muscle relaxant medication, and then followed by the nerve something medication. I'm like, do I have to take this stuff? And they said, no, not if you don't want to. It's just to help with the pain. I was like, okay, let me try. And since then I haven't taken anything. They wanted to give me some Advil narcotics. I don't know what it's called. Narco Advil or something. I don't know. Do you know what that is? Maybe not.
I don't know. I don't know brand names. It would be different depending on.
It had narcotics in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Advil narcotics or something.
Yeah, just in case you're not taking it seriously.
I don't know that I want to take that. I don't want to take narcotics. I think I'm good. Like, let me see how I can handle it. So the pain has slowly gotten better. I mean, on a resting, it'd be like a 2, but then moving around or doing anything, like it would jump to like a 5 or a 6. But again, all the way through, I'm like, this is good. Like, you very rarely get the chance to show yourself what you're made of. And I've never had to go through a physical thing like this ever. Like I've dealt with not having any money and self-confidence and that kind of stuff, but I've never had to deal with a physical debilitating thing like this. And it's not something that you ever intentionally put yourself in, right? Like there's no way I'm going to like smash my head on the wall just to see what I'm made of, right? Yeah. So when it comes, I see it as an opportunity. So apart from the one night in the overnight in Denver, since then I haven't taken anything for the pain.
Wow. So, and that's not you being a hero. It's actually not being too bad for you. Is that what you're saying? The pain's not being too distressing. It's
been just to see. I mean, it's been painful. Nothing like if it was crazy pain, I would do something. It's not stupid pain, but it'd get up to like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Like where I really feel like, oh man, it hurts so much. And then more try to adjust by lying down or being gentle on myself or having an ice pack or something than instead of medication.
Yeah. I mean, there's some simple things you can do with pain as well. Like distraction is a really good pain management strategy. because you're distracting. When you focus your attention on pain, you notice it more, it feels worse. Mm-hmm. And when you distract yourself, and you will have noticed this yourself, when you're sitting around doing nothing, you probably feel worse than when you're busy doing things. And it's the later, when you're sitting down doing nothing again, that it flares up for you. But distraction and, a little bit of meditation, mindful breathing is a really good strategy as well. I can tell you about those if you want me to, but yeah, you're doing really well. I don't know, I just think it's very typical. It's typical Evan. I've come to know you.
So I've been saving up these stories, and like, when am I going to see tests?
I know.
So that was one, because I want your take on it to see, like, am I just crazy, or is it the best, most healthy thing of all time, or am I actually like crazy? So that was one, right? Like, I think I'm the best patient of all time, clearly walking through, and that actually scared me. Legit scared me. Like, am I crazy? Okay,
because that's what I want to hear, is which bits scared you. So the I'm awesome stuff scared you when you're in that headspace. That scared you?
Yeah, when both my arms, I can't feel anything.
Oh yeah, that is scary.
And I'm just walking through what's happening, and the default in my head is I'm a great patient. And then later I'm thinking, is that good? Like, is that healthy? Should I not have been more scared that, hey, I can't feel my arms? I think it's still healthy, but it led me to question myself.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was one. That was one that I wanted to save for Tess out of there. So I had to cancel my event in Denver because I was in the hospital. I couldn't do anything. Yeah. And I said, okay, well, let's do a quick meetup the next day at our place for the people who, like, give everybody their money back, but then say, hey, let's still meet up the next day. And the doctor's like, no. You had a concussion. Like, you can't be meeting with people. And my biggest fear is letting people down, disappointing them. So okay, like, I can't do it. Physically can't do it. My next event was Kansas City, and it's supposed to be a 3-hour event. I made a video and started getting a little bit of a headache. And the doctor said, anytime you feel a headache or dizzy, like, you got to stop that thing. Like, oh my gosh, do we have to cancel Kansas City too? This is like 4 days later. This is ridiculous. Okay, let me try again in an hour. And I made the video an hour later, and I felt okay, which is basically just saying, hey guys, I got a concussion. I broke my neck. I'm not going to be able to do 3 hours today in Kansas City. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to refund you the money. I'm still going to come because I booked the hotel. If you guys want to come hang out for an hour, take pictures, sign books, whatever, I'll still answer questions, but I can't stay for the full 3. Yeah. So then we went. And after an hour, this shocked me. So usually when I'm around entrepreneurs and doing all this stuff, I get energy, and it's healing for me. After an hour, I actually started feeling it.
Yeah.
Which shocked me. So my wife was looking at my lips to see if, when they went super dry, she would know that I'm starting to get, like, she was going to be the one who pulled me out. So I'm always like wetting my lips, keeping them wet the whole time, just so that I don't get the hook. And I went for an hour and a half, even though I started feeling it after an hour. Probably should have stopped a little sooner. But it shocked me that I was losing energy and I was slow to respond to stuff. I really did not expect that. Then I get pumped afterwards because it's like I was at my physical limit. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got to experience being at my physical limit and then saying, no, I physically cannot go anymore. I am actually done. Like, I'm being pulled off stage because I got nothing. Yeah. I've never experienced that. So right away, I'm pumped up again.
But why? You'd already had the headache earlier in the day. Why go? You were already refunding the money. What was so bad about disappointing people with a broken neck that you still went?
At that point, it wasn't so much disappointing people that I was worried about. It was more just proving to myself what I'm made of. It's a test. I saw it as a test. I saw it as like, how I want to see how much I can do. And like, I got up on stage, and like, the first thing I did was vomit, and then we had to be pulled out. Like, okay, great. That's the most I can do, and go home.
Yeah.
Or if it's 15 minutes or half an hour. I thought I'd go longer. I didn't think I'd go 3 hours, but I didn't think I would feel it after an hour. I mean, and at this point, I can't do anything, right? Like, I can't put my pants on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nina's doing everything for me. And so all I can do is talk, which is thankfully something that I can do a little bit of. I was pumped for Kansas City because that was physically the max that I could go to. And we still had a great event and it was still super helpful for people and left an impact. But for me, it was more that this was my max. Because all the other events, I could have gone longer. I could have gone for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. I don't know.
What's so important about reaching your limit and seeing it? Why is that important to you? Why was that such a powerful moment?
I just don't think I've never been pushed there. I don't think we push ourselves enough to get that far outside of our comfort zone. So I see it as a challenge. I remember when I first had to do YouTube videos all in one, I switched my filming days to do it once a month as a test. And I thought it'd be hard on my team to get all the research and everything ready. But once you figure it out for one, then it's the same amount of work going forward. But it was hardest on me. Like, could I be on from 8:30 in the morning until 6 at night straight, right? And just like, a pee break or something. But could I make that many videos in one day?
Yeah.
I didn't know if I could. And that excited me. Like if I tap out at 3 o'clock, I went from 8:30 to 3 o'clock and then like I got no more energy left. Great. Like I still did more than most, right? And like, that's my actual limit. I think most of the things we complain about are fake things, right? The things that feel overwhelming, like, why didn't you accomplish that thing while I slept in? Or it's rainy today, or it's like these nothing issues, right? And so I was pumped to have the opportunity to actually challenge myself and see.
Kind of like an endurance athlete.
Yeah, I guess.
Pushing the limits.
To see. Yeah. So and then after that, I did every event. I mean, I had to sit. I couldn't stand up at all. I sat on a stool with a pillow behind me up against the wall, and I wasn't even thinking about disappointing people at that point because I think people were just so inspired. Even though I didn't go to inspire people. I was doing it more for myself at that point. But we lasted the full 3 hours for every other event that I did afterwards. And then the third thing that I wanted to share, like get test perspective on, and you could pick which story you want to dive in or all three of them. I have this saying, it's the best, right? Like you take the most negative thing that's happening, you say it's the best, it puts you in a resourceful spot. And this guy in one of the events actually made a logo of me with the neck brace on, and it says it's the best underneath. I think that this is actually like the best. The opportunity again to push myself to that limit, I think is amazing. But I think this is also like, this is bio-worthy stuff. I think if I do a tour in 2020 next year, like I'm thinking East Coast and Texas, it won't be as challenging.
You'll find a way, I'm sure.
No, but I won't. Like, I'm not going to throw my head against the wall. Like, it's just, I won't care enough about making it challenging enough to do that. And I legit think, as much as I think this is actually amazing right now, I think when I'm 80, looking back, I'm going to say, holy cow, 2019, like that tour, that was wild.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what are you already learning about it?
Yeah.
What are you taking away from it now?
Well, I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I think I'm actually underestimating how amazing and great it is. Like, can you actually realize how great something is when you're in it versus the perspective of time away from it to say, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, right? I'm sure there's going to be over time lots of things that you'll look back on and say, well, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have learnt this about myself, and I wouldn't have learnt that about myself, and I wouldn't have had the confidence in my whatever skills to do whatever the next thing's going to be. That, we can't see necessarily what's going to come out of it. But no, I'm with you on that one. I actually agree with you on to a point on that one. I do think that adversity it's a growth opportunity and it's a learning opportunity. And I often talk about, when people in business, when they have shitty times in business, it's the time that you're going to grow the most, and it's the time you're going to learn the most. You're going to look back on it and be thankful. So, thankfully that happened, because that pushed me to go this direction or that direction or grow this much. So I agree with you. I don't think there's anything that you shouldn't be proud of in terms of overcoming this particular experience? Although, yeah, I still think your madness personified. I think it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
My wallet was stolen in LA. It's like
really?
Like my car was ransacked in LA. Like they took my speakers, my microphone, my stands, my signs, everything. They took everything out of the car, including my wallet, which was in the car. And so we came back, and the first day back here, I had to replace my bank cards and my driver's license and health card and all that stuff. And you have to take a picture for your driver's license. And I'm like, I hope I get to keep this on. Right? People are, I was telling stories on Instagram, like, oh, I got to go do my driver's license. And he said, oh, you got 5 years of having that cast on your neck on your driver's license picture. Like, I'm pumped for that. What are you talking about? I think it's the best.
I want to talk about your video with Hank.
Okay.
I watched that last night. And
that was a long one, yeah.
And it was a long one. And first of all, what did you get out of it? What did you take away from that? Because it was an emotional, I mean, this was an emotional, for you, you talked quite a bit about the emotional experience of Hank being stuck in his experience of his working life.
Yeah, so for people who aren't familiar, we'll put the description, we'll put a link in the description. Last week, we did a one-on-one with Hank, and he was teaching me to be a better coach, and I ended up coaching him. A couple things. One, I mean, for me, Hank and I have had an interesting relationship where at the beginning it would be more fighting over lots of different things. And so we've actually created more of a friendship. I think especially through this series, I was shocked I forget what the word was.
Joy.
Yeah, joy. It's fresher for you because you've just seen it. It's like
I just watched it.
A couple weeks old for me. I said, well, what brings you joy in your life? And he's like, oh, nothing. Like even the word joy, he didn't like or resonate with. And I felt really just sad that not just somebody, but somebody who I know, who I care about, who I know impacts people, who does a great job in his work, who's a father and has a daughter, like somebody around me who doesn't know what joy feels like, and just resigning himself to that, where he still has lots of life left. Like he's not 90 years old sitting in some retirement home, was impactful. It's like I couldn't believe it. And the best part I think about that was just he was trying to teach me about understanding and not just coming in from a passionate perspective, which I tend to do the best, right? Passion, energy, I will carry you through. I don't know how much of it actually worked versus him wanting just to demo it and like show me. But yeah, the idea that somebody who I care about, who we know has an impact, feels like there's no joy in his life, to me is sad. I want to see that fixed. I don't want to let that stand.
You want to fix that. Yeah. Because we've talked before about you being such an empathic person, and that sometimes you put some walls up to protect yourself emotionally, unconsciously, subconsciously, of course. You're putting these walls up sometimes to protect yourself when you're empathizing overly much with certain situations for other people, because it's painful for you. You feel it because you're so empathic. What I observed in that video was you sticking with the uncomfortable feelings, and you went there. And that's what we were talking about last time, was you not going there with people. You know, we had this whole conversation last time about sanitizing emotional conversations and making them either fact-based or task-oriented, or shutting down the emotion.
Okay. And
how to overcome that and be a bit more human, I think, had been some of the criticisms that had been thrown your way. It might have even been Hank who said it. And I was watching that, and just as the video went on towards the end there, it was really clear that yes, you were feeling these emotions and you weren't putting the shields up. You were sitting right with that. How was that for you? Was that a different experience, or is that something that you normally would do in your coaching? Do you normally get that emotionally vulnerable in a coaching session with somebody? Or was this a new experience for you because of the friendship?
Um, the way that I see it is it was a different tool that I haven't used. I don't feel like I'm purposely shielding anything. I just don't know. I just don't know how to use that tool. And so he challenged to say, hey, okay, I just said this thing and then you just came back with the same vibe. You need to meet me at a lower vibration or whatever he said. Like, okay, great. Let's do it. Let me try. And then I tried to do that thing. And however well it worked, I don't know. But I don't see myself as having a problem doing it. I just don't know. I don't default to it. I think the emotion that I'll typically feel, I'll feel for it, but the way that I express it is normally different. And so this is just a different language, just a language that I'm not familiar with as much.
It was pretty powerful to watch. It was powerful to watch you be that authentic, and not that you're not authentic anyway, but to be that emotionally vulnerable and authentic. And I know that Hank can be, he's a strong personality. So to be that vulnerable and that authentic emotionally and still pushing him at the same time, that was a really genuine piece of emotional vulnerability, which I think is really powerful. And maybe that's the sort of thing, you know, this whole journey has been about for you, is tapping into that emotional vulnerability a bit more and finding, not that you need to break your neck to get there, but, you know, finding those moments when you can dive in, you can dive into that emotion and be there and be present and stay there with that person. I think what Hank was saying at the start was similar to what I'd said last time around, there was an emotional moment and it became the immediate response, or the initial response was around turning it into a factual-based discussion or an information-based discussion. And he picked you up on that, and that's when it turned a corner towards the end of that video, and it got really deep dive, for you and for him too. You touched him. That connection was pretty real.
Cool.
Cool.
No, I love it. I mean, it's figuring out how to use it better. I mean, the whole point with Hank's series is to help make me a better coach. I had a buddy of mine, Mark, come up with me. I've known Mark for a decade plus. He came to the first event in Pittsburgh and the last event in Cleveland to come back for it. And he brought his camera guy with him for the second one. And we're sitting on the couch and I started asking questions of the camera guy and then slowly pushing him on stuff. And Mark was getting worried that I was pushing him too far and questioning too deep on stuff. And he said, hey, Evan's only pushing this way because he loves you. Like you've made it into Evan's inner circle when he starts pushing you hard on stuff. I actually felt that the caveat there, the explanation was unnecessary. Because I'll only push people when I feel like I can. The thing with Hank was like, I don't know how to, he's not giving me anything at that point. Like he says he's lazy. He says he has no, doesn't know what his ambitions are, whatever. I got nothing. Like what do I hold on to? And so for those kinds of people, I think this is a different gear that helps open that up, where the camera guy who came, it was a typical guy who would normally be able to push really well to my typical style. But the people who just sit there and complain and have no goals and feel like they're lazy and, there is no joy in life. I don't know how to reach that person, or at least I haven't. Yeah. I don't want to convince you that the world is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. And that's actually an important point, because I think sometimes when we want to fix things for people, we lose the connection, we lose the empathy, because it's become about our frustration instead of it being about their situation. And I think you did turn that around with Hank in that video, where you kept with him. So you were initially very frustrated and got quite cross with him, but then you tapped into that emotion for him, that empathy, and sat in that with him. And I think that's when you turned it around. So, where else would you use that? I mean, is that something that's more outside of your coaching life? Is that something that's more your interpersonal, your close relationships, or your inner circle, as you call it? Is that normally where you would allow yourself that connection?
I don't know. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. Even because of this injury, I think it brought Nina and I even closer together. The amount of stuff she had to do, right? Like I couldn't put my pants on. I made a video about that too. Steve maybe made a video about that. When I told him that I couldn't put my pants on, he's like, you should film that. Like, what? Yeah, you should film your whole morning routine. And how Nina helps you. Like, you want to see me put my pants on? Like, yep. Okay, great. Yeah, why not? Let's go. And I'm, part of it is not because of Steve, because in my head is like, oh my God, I'm going to be in my underwear. I probably gained 10 pounds because I haven't been able to move or do anything. And so because there's a little bit of worry of judgment, then great, I got to do it now. I think you should eat judgment. So we did a, 25-minute video of my morning routine all the way up until getting into the car. And Nina has to like push me into the car and set up my pillows. And I'm like, I can't do anything. So that really brought us closer together, I think.
Were you worried for Nina? Were you worried for the stress for her? Because I think that's often...
I think that would have been the reason. I told her, like, this would be the reason why we canceled the tour, is if she couldn't handle the extra responsibilities. And it'd be okay if she couldn't. I even told her from the beginning, like, the thing that will kill this tour is if we're fighting too much, because it's 90 days of everyday like chaos with no break all the way through. If this is causing damage to our relationship, I'm going to go home. And I don't care if it's 28 days into the tour and we cancel on people and they don't understand. Like, that's going to be the reason why we stopped the tour. And then more so now that she's got to drive this giant suburban, I can't drive, right? I was doing all the driving. So she had to drive this giant suburban truck. She doesn't like driving at night. She had to take all of her responsibilities on top of basically everything that I was doing physically, right? I can only talk. That's it.
How did that feel for you though?
So it's a mix. Loved, right? Like my buddy Mark, who came to Cleveland, said, does Evan say thank you enough for all this? And she said, yeah. Like, oh, that's great. I didn't know how she was gonna respond to that question. Because Nick, you always feel like you don't do enough to say thank you or to show gratitude or kindness or whatever. So helping Nina feel, recognized. So I think I felt loved. I think Nina, to some extent, also enjoyed being able to help and bring us close together. Even now, like, I can't take this off. Like she helps me take this off. And anyway, I think though, I also used it a couple of nights ago, maybe it was last night, as a chance to push her on stuff. And that, like, no matter what, however difficult it was or painful it was, what did I have to go through? Like, I broke my neck and I'm optimistic and positive, and like, you can use this as a growth opportunity. But not while we're in it, because while we're in it, she had to deal with a lot of stuff. I'm impressed at us. Like, I've always felt that, like, if I went to zero, why am I still with Nina? Because if we went to zero, like, she would still be there. And this wasn't the financial zero, but this was a lot of physical zero, right? And
You've got this lovely way of describing things that makes it sound like even though you're describing difficult things, it still sounds like you guys kind of skipped your way through it. But I can imagine it was intensely stressful and intensely emotional at times. You're already looking back and seeing the growth in your relationship, which is a great thing. But what will you look back on as being the most difficult part of it all?
For the whole thing, or just our relationship, or what?
Oh, I think in your relationship, because we're talking about connection and we're talking about empathy. How did it stretch you the most as a couple? How did it pull at you both?
I think honestly, where it pulled the most was when I tried to do stuff to help that I wasn't supposed to do. Like, I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm not allowed to lift anything over 10 pounds. At the beginning, I couldn't even put my arms up like this, let alone like reach for something on the shelf. I don't like being looked after. Like I appreciate and love it, but I like being able to do my own stuff. Like I want to be able to put my own pants on, you know, I think that's kind of important.
Yeah.
So even that first night, like the first night that I was allowed to go home, I woke up in the middle of the night and had restless legs. Like my legs were cramping up like crazy and I had to get up and I couldn't sit up. From lying down to sitting up, I was dizzy. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to pass out? I can't see anything. It's totally dark. When some, you know, Airbnb, I don't know. And I need to get up and walk because my legs are restless. I had to wake Nina up. I'm like, Nina, like I need your help. I need to get up. And so she woke up at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m, whatever, and helped me walk and stayed up with me for 30 minutes as I walked around to try to stretch out my legs. I think the biggest frustration was probably me trying to do more than I should and me not being able to do it. And then her getting upset at me for trying to put on clothes, but we didn't fight. Like there were no major fights throughout the whole thing. I think it was more just understanding. I think that's so when she would get frustrated, they're like, oh, I tried to put a shirt on by myself.
So how did she feel about you pushing ahead with the tour, especially in those early days?
Yeah, she doesn't like it. And I would feel the same way, right? Like if it was swapped, like, don't be stupid. Don't do that. What are you doing? You know, you're not supposed to do that. Right. But I would, I just want to do it. Right. Especially knowing that I can't. So like getting into the car and then putting on the seatbelt by myself was a big deal. Right. I'm not supposed to put the seatbelt on myself because it would hurt because I can't pull. I had no pressure, especially with the arm up. I couldn't do anything. Now I can, but like zero pressure. I can't close the door, zero pressure, no strength on my arm it'll pull on my muscles here. And so I would try and then it would hurt. Right. And then she'd get upset that I tried, but you know, I pushed the envelope, but it never led to like a crazy fight of what are you doing? This is stupid.
Be interested to know one day, I have a feeling one day there'll be a conversation about how what she might have been holding inside in terms of her fears for you pushing through those days.
Oh, do you want to bring her in? We can ask her.
No, not now. Oh, no, okay. No. I just think that's something between the two of you. I'm sure one day she'll perhaps reflect back on what was going through her mind that she didn't share with you. Because it sounds to me like Nina's such a strong woman and wanted to be strong for you in that moment because you were so determined.
Oh, sure. I mean,
do those things.
I would very cruelly joke every now and then, like, what if I didn't wake up? Like, no, don't say that.
Evan.
Whenever things would be like super, like she got cut off in traffic or something, like her biggest frustration was driving in traffic and somebody cuts her off, right? She'd be super upset sitting here driving, right? Like, hey, Nina, what if I didn't wake up? Imagine that.
Yeah. That's mean. That is mean.
It was a little poke, but also for perspective. Yeah, she was definitely way more worried about like, oh my God, what if he has to have spinal surgery? Like what's going on? You know, all of that stuff. She's way more of a worrier in general about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I had to sleep on my back because of this. Like I have to sleep with this, right? It's not easy. I normally don't sleep on my back. So I sleep on my back and then I start snoring, which I normally don't snore. And so that would keep her up that I was snoring. And then the first night that I was able to go on my side, she stayed up all night because I wasn't snoring. Like he's not breathing. She's much more of a worrier that way.
I think that's pretty normal for couples going through a physical crisis like this, because you're in it and you can feel all the different physical sensations that you can feel, and you can feel where your limit is. You can feel when you're comfortable, when you're not comfortable. You can feel also that rising motivation and strength when you want to push through something. But for the partner who's not in your body and can't feel all those intangibles, it's a real exercise in tolerance and patience and holding yourself together so that you're being more, you're being for the other person instead of for your own feelings of fear and concern. So I can imagine that being, quite a scary time for her, and not deserving of mean jokes, Mr. Carmichael.
It was deserving. Perspective, giving parenting perspective.
Just getting back to the Hank video for a minute.
Okay.
I'm wondering, it's not really homework. I'm not giving you homework today.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if there's benefit for you to go back and watch that video again, especially
Okay.
the last third of it. But I'm wondering if there's benefit for you watching that video again and just observing how it shifts and that emotional connection goes deeper and you stay with it. And I would like you to try and watch it and observe how that happens. Try and observe how that happens, recognizing when else you do that, when else you go deep in that connection, and how you can bring that forward in your videos and how you can bring that forward in your coaching videos in particular. That's emotionally exhausting. You can't do it for everyone, but you know, just that idea of that deeper connection and what you can use that for, how you can incorporate that.
I mean, I know the moment specifically in that video, he basically said, you've been hitting me at this point for 10 minutes and it's not connecting.
Yeah.
And then he said, do it like this. And then that's when we started trying.
Yeah, you were calling bullshit on him. You were just hammering him, which I thought was, good entertainment. But then it definitely, that's right. And you then go down. You then go down to his level of, not his level of emotion, because he wasn't feeling that, but that level of, you matched him. I can't quite describe it, but you got down with him. It's like when you think about little kids and you get down on the floor, with the child, the whole interaction changes when you're on the floor with the child. And this is like emotionally, this is what went on in that video, and observing that and seeing where else you can bring that out. Because you said yourself that this was new for you. Yeah,
I was pushing him, but I wasn't grabbing on to anything. He gave me nothing that at least typically nothing that I would see as things to pull onto.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, obviously I haven't spoken to Hank about it, but I would say that Hank's fairly used to people arguing with him, and perhaps getting at that deeper emotional empathy level is not necessarily, seeing through his bluff and bluster, like seeing through that big cloud of loudness into that real emotion that is coming from his childhood is not necessarily a common experience for him. And he went there with you. I mean, that's the power of what you were able to do. You took him with you to that sad place.
That's a good idea to watch it back. Thank you. I've been
watch it back.
But to see it, people have been responding and emailing me and all this stuff. And I mean, the next day I emailed Hank like, hey man, been thinking about you. How you doing? Yeah. And he said he found a moment of joy in preparing for his presentation or something. Like, okay, great.
I had pictures of him roller skating with his daughter or something, not preparing a presentation, but, you need to reset his homework or give him better parameters.
I don't, but that's like that. The frustration is I don't know what to give him. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do for someone like that. He's talking about his daughter and he's still saying like, there's no joy. Like, I don't know how to, I got zero. He said, give me one piece of homework. Okay, great. Do this. Find one moment. Like, okay, great. I just made that up, I don't know. Try this. Usually when I have to do it is I will definitely default on like the push. And then people will say, well, I'm trying so hard. And then I'll have to back down. And then people think I'm being critical of them sometimes. And so I'll have to switch it up and say, what are you talking about? Like, I think you're the greatest X of all time. Yeah. And then they're confused. They think I'm pounding on them. They get defensive. And then I say, I think they're the greatest of all time. And then injecting the belief. And then we go down this path. So I almost expect defensiveness at some point. But I've been through that road a lot. This was, I don't know how to practice it. The thing that comes to mind is when I'm not reaching them, when I feel like I'm not making a connection. Just those people typically I don't talk to. Like they don't ask me questions. Like Hank did not come to me and say, how do I have more joy? Yeah. I forced the issue. I forget why. Yeah. We weren't even talking. It wasn't supposed to be a coaching call for Hank. It was something led to something else. Yeah.
In fact, you'd almost finished the video. You'd almost finished. I think you were wrapping up, and then it turned. Something just sort of opened up again.
Triggered. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder too how much of it is a semantic thing, you know, when we pin everything on a single word, because I wonder when did he last feel free? And I don't know if he's ever felt that freedom, that sense of childlike freedom of, you know, like tearing down the road on your bike as fast as you can. And it might be joyful for someone else, but it might just be wildly free for him. And he alluded to that, you know, the childhood he had, and just being by himself was the closest he got as a kid, I think, to freedom and joyfulness. Not joyfulness because it was a sad childhood or a tough childhood. But I wonder about that, you know, when does he let himself go? When does he feel free? And is that, you know, approximating joyfulness? You know, can we get closer to joyfulness by exploring some of those other words that we can associate with what does joyfulness also feel like? Does it feel like being free? Does it feel like being really relaxed? Does it feel like being crazy? What does it feel like? Or what do you think it feels like? Well, when have you felt like that? I'm wondering about that with him a little bit too. He didn't like the word. It was really clear that he didn't like the word.
Right?
Yeah. Didn't like the word at all. So maybe another word. Yeah. You can dig away a little bit. Are you talking to him again? Doing another video with him?
Yeah, well, we do once a month. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where this whole thing is going. I'm supposed to give him an example of a coaching call, and he breaks it apart and tells me how to improve it. I don't know. I guess we'll see where our sessions go.
See where it goes. Yeah.
I haven't been able to practice it, what he wants me to do on somebody the way that he wants me to.
You know, maybe watching it again, now there's been a little bit of distance. You've had it rattling around in there. Maybe watching it again will give it a different hue or a different flavour that you can now play around with it a bit more, especially since we've talked about it as well from a different perspective. Yeah, it's hard to have a strategy up your sleeve. It's no different to, you know, being a psychologist and, you know, going off and doing a workshop on some new strategy, and it's all really exciting. You can't wait to try it out on someone, but the right person just doesn't turn up for that strategy. You know, you got to find the right person too. You can't just, it's not a cookie cutter. It doesn't suit all people. Yeah. I think it's an interesting one. I loved it. I loved the video. I loved it. And I actually felt that was so congruent with the homework that I gave you last time, where I said, yeah, I know. I put a sneaky comment on there. You'll have to go and find what it is. But yeah, it was the exact mirror image of what we were talking about last time, of you putting walls up and you not going there and you intellectualizing emotional conversations. You did the exact opposite. You took all the shields away and you went there. It was pretty powerful. And people are responding to that, which is great. So I'm not giving you homework this time, other than to go back and watch that and see what you get from that.
I'm just trying to think. I maybe have an idea. What's running through my head is I love it. I'm trying to figure out what is the language. Like, how do I get better at it? It's not purposely throwing up shields as I don't feel. Maybe I am. It feels to me like I just don't speak that language. So how do I better understand that language, speak it, watch it, whether it's like watching Oprah more or
No, I think it's watching you more. I think it's watching you when you hit it, when you hit that mark. And I think you recognize it, and I think you'll recognize it more now. And I think, you know, to go back and watch that video with Hank and to watch other videos as you get more of them, because you will, because you're going to be watching for it now, right? As you get more of those, learn from your own. You give this advice to people, you know that sometimes you need to go back and watch your own videos and critique them and so on. So maybe, you know, learning from your own successes at that. That's what that looks like when I hit that mark with people. That's what it looks like when I explore the language of the word. I mean, you were sticking with the word joy. And I guess that would be the thing that I would be interested to see is, what if we'd played with that word and found other words, found a word that Hank was comfortable with, redefine joy for him and help him find the connection with what you call joy, he might call something else.
Right. But even that, it's a great strategy, right? So like if I run into a problem with somebody with a word, I can say, okay, well, what else? Let's call it something else. I didn't even think about that, but you gave it to me. Boom. It's another tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That gives some good homework. Tess, you started off this day feeling pretty stressed out.
Yeah, and you know what? I was stressed out about the welder. He hasn't even started yet. Has not interrupted us at all. Barking dog's another issue, and that's okay.
How's the stress level at right now?
Pretty good, thanks. You're really good at this.
Yeah, I love it. Yes. Well, thank you for the love, energy, positivity. I'm going to carry Tess' energy with me for the rest of my night here too.
Awesome. Thank you. You have a great
night. If people want to find you, where are they going?
Well, they are going to Tess Crawley Mentoring on Facebook, at Tess Crawley Mentoring on Facebook, Tess Crawley on YouTube, and I am finally building up a Finding Proof website. So that is live, findingproof.com.
Finding Proof?
Proof. Finding Proof.
.com. Just .com, not the AU? Okay, .com. Okay, cool.
Look, I think if it doesn't come up with the .com, try the .au, but I'm pretty sure it's .com. At least that's where we started. That's where we started.
Cool.
And I'll be in America next week. I'll be in America next week. I'm
Where?
going to be in the States next week. I'm going to be in LA for a couple of days, and then I'll be in New York for 3.5 weeks.
We'll sync up after. We might be in New York together. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be so good. That would be so fun.
We get to see. I get to get an answer to like my burning question.
Which one?
Which is, I wonder how tall Tess Crawley is.
I'm going to bet I'm taller than you. How's that?
Taller than me?
I don't know. I don't even know how tall you are. See, I default to the positive.
This is always I get the, oh, you're a lot taller than I thought, or you're shorter than I thought. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Tess.
Awesome.
Talk to you soon.
We will talk.
Safe travels.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
If you want to see the video with Hank that Tess and I talked a lot about in this episode, go click the link right there. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Everyone has this fear of being judged, of not being prepared, of wanting to get it right.